Best Winter 2024 Anime, Ranked. The Winter 2024 anime season is almost at an end, and it has been an awesome few months. While perhaps not as overflowing with big names and sequels as some recent seasons, this quarter has not lacked quality or variety. Winter 2024 is especially interested in action, comedy, and isekai stories, all of which have multiple representatives that are worth checking out. Although not as plentiful as some other genres, romance anime might steal the spotlight throughout this quarter. With close to 500 episodes airing each season, keeping up with everything is close to impossible. Consequently, narrowing the options slightly can help get someone started. Let's take a look at the best anime of Winter 2024 as the season comes to an end. While most people might already be looking forward to spring 2024, they might wish to catch up with a few great recent anime that they skipped. 16. Blue Exorcist, Shimane Illuminati Saga. My Anime List, 7.03. The newest Blue Exorcist arc has been overshadowed by a few other Winter 2024 action anime, and sequels can struggle to retain an audience if they are not the biggest names around. While popular, Blue Exorcist's adaptation has suffered from long gaps between seasons and retcon content. Still, the Shimane Illuminati saga has been an exciting ride so far, and it has blended action and drama well. After a few fairly light-hearted episodes, the season kicked into gear with Izumo's abduction by the Illuminati, a turn of events fueled by an intense betrayal. After that point, Blue Exorcist balances the hero's rescue mission with Izumo's backstory and the Illuminati's attempts to revive their demonic master. These elements are all decent in isolation, and they come together to create a respectable whole. Also, Blue Exorcist has one of Winter 2024's most detestable villains, a character that is so over-the-top terrible that he is always difficult to take seriously at times. 15. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. My Anime List, 7.45. Like any recent season, Winter 2024 is stuffed with fantasy anime, with most of the biggest shows falling within the genre. Consequently, a few series can get lost in the shadow of heavyweights like Frieren or the many entries in the isekai subgenre, and The Unwanted Undead Adventurer serves as a prime example of an underrated Winter 2024 anime. Rent is a bronze-level adventurer who has not experienced much growth in recent years, and while he is fairly hard on himself, he has unknowingly made quite an impact on his guild and the people around him. While exploring a low-level dungeon, he finds a hidden passage that leads him to a fight against a powerful dragon. Unsurprisingly, Rent is completely defeated. Surprisingly, he does not die and instead finds himself living as an undead monster. Thus, starts his journey towards evolution as he seeks to become something more human. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer takes an inspired premise and adds a great protagonist and a couple of likable supporting characters. Although nothing especially unique on the surface, Rent feels like a three-dimensional figure who has a well-defined backstory that influences his present actions. His transformation is shrouded in mystery and drives the story forward well. However, the anime is at its best when showing Rent's impact on the people around him, specifically friendships that have developed over the span of a decade. 14. The Witch and the Beast. My Anime List, 7.17. The Witch and the Beast has many great things going for it, even if the anime has yet to fully capitalize on its concept's potential. Set in a reality inspired by the Victorian era, the story follows Gaida and Nashf as they take on supernatural-themed cases, with the former only being on board in an attempt to locate the witch who placed a curse on her. Following an episodic structure so far, the season covers a series of interesting cases that are enjoyable in isolation but do not seem to connect all that much, although they do flesh out the world. Gaida and Nashf are cool, and they are both shrouded in mystery despite having wildly different personalities. That said, they are a bit too aloof at the moment, which makes it difficult to root for them beyond their status as the show's protagonists. In fact, The Witch and the Beast's best episodes so far revolved around another detective team entirely, the far more interesting Fanora and Johan. Still, the core duo are entertaining in their own right. Frankly, The Witch and the Beast's biggest drawback at the moment is its length. The anime has steadily been gathering momentum, with the most recent arcs diving into Gaida and Nashv's backstories in a way that has elevated both characters significantly. The anime is starting to become great just as it is about to end, and this seems like one of those adaptations that might never get a sequel. Consequently, there is little reason to recommend the anime when the manga exists. 13. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic. My Anime List, 7.55. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic is just one of many isekai anime airing as part of Winter 2024's lineup, and it will not go down as an all-time great like The Eminence in Shadow or Konosuba. That said, The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic is a solid addition to a theme that has suffered from overexposure in recent years. If someone hates isekai, they will probably not love this anime. However, people who are simply craving a fantasy story that has likable characters, decent humor, and escalating tension should be in for a treat. Accidentally summoned to another world alongside his heroic classmates, Ken Yusato learns that he is a healer, a development that attracts the attention of the terrifying Rose. Forced to train under her supervision, Ken gradually grows into his new role while developing friendships with many other characters. In the meantime, the human kingdom prepares for a war against demons. Ken and Rose are, by far, the wrong way to use healing magic's shining stars, and their dynamic manages to be both hilarious and sweet. Initially playing out like a comedy, the anime gradually transitioned into an action comedy as the hyped-up war finally broke out, a development that slightly exposed the weak animation. Still, this anime is entertaining during these chapters, and the subsequent episodes are closer in tone to the first half of the series. 12. Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard? My Anime List, 7.71. Do not judge an anime or manga by its title. Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard? Sounds a bit too silly to be taken seriously, and it fails to paint an adequate picture of the show's appeal. Adaki can hear people's thoughts when he touches them, a power that has mostly been a negative addition to his life. However, one day, he accidentally touches his popular coworker, Kurosawa, and learns that he has a big crush on him. This news not only comes as a shock to Adaki, but also forces him to recontextualize his views on his coworker. As the two slowly get closer, the protagonist finds himself pulling back as he does not want to give Kurosawa false hope. However, Adaki's feelings are also starting to become muddled. Cherry Magic takes a fairly traditional boys' love pairing, a confident man who is interested in an inexperienced guy, and introduces a supernatural twist that brings depth to most of their encounters. Adaki is likable as a confused guy in a tough situation with no easy answers. Meanwhile, the protagonist's power provides insight into Kurosawa's actions, revealing a person who is hardly as confident and secure as he might seem. In a season with multiple fantastic romance anime, Cherry Magic was always destined to play the underdog, especially since boys' love stories are permanently niche. Anyone interested in romance stories should give this show a try. 11. Tsukimaki Moonlit Fantasy Season 2. My Anime List, 7.76. Tsukimaki Moonlit Fantasy has all the ingredients synonymous with generic isekai anime: an overpowered protagonist, strong female characters who instantly decide they need a master, and a bog-standard medieval-style world. However, the show still manages to establish a unique identity, and it serves as a prime example that tropes are fine as long as they are utilized well. The anime's greatest strength is its characters, specifically Makoto, Tomoe, Mio, and Shiki. While capable of destroying disaster-level threats without breaking a sweat, Makoto is nevertheless likable, largely thanks to his comedic sensibilities and the fact he faces prejudice due to his looks. He has some flaws, even if they are not that detrimental. In most isekai stories, the MC attracts a colorful cast of supporters willing to do anything to garner their leader's attention. While following this formula, Tsukimaki allows these characters to exist away from Makoto's shadow. Tomoe and Mio have arguably the most entertaining dynamic in the series, and they regularly produce big laughs and feature prominently in action sequences. Season 2 builds nicely on its predecessor's strong foundation, and Makoto's time as a teacher has produced quite a few hilarious moments. 10. Seventh time loop, the villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. My anime list, 7.55. While not quite as popular as isekai, same-world reincarnation stories are fairly common when compared to other niche themes, and Winter 2024 has produced one of the most interesting takes on the concept in a long time. Rish, a noblewoman, finds herself caught in a strange time loop. Without fail, she dies when she is 20, always reincarnating a few years earlier just as her awful fiancé is about to humiliatingly dump her. Despite leading very different lives each time, Rish's path always leads to death, courtesy of a war started by a prince from a neighboring country. However, on her seventh loop, she runs into that very same man, starting an unexpected romance that will hopefully allow her to carve out a future. A strong premise means nothing if it is executed poorly or features bland characters. Fortunately, Seventh Time Loop cannot be accused of either. Rish is a marvelous, confident, and proactive protagonist, one whose talents are born out of experiences cultivated over multiple short lives. Mysterious but also oddly charming, Prince Arnold is a fascinating male lead in his own right, and he has chemistry with Rish. Rish and Arnold's relationship develops quite a bit throughout the 12-episode season, and they make for a genuinely cute couple by the end of the core. Although she morphs into a more traditional female romance lead in the second half of the series, Rish has some great moments, including an exciting escape sequence. 9. Durus Yatsura, second season. My anime list, 7.75. Rumiko Takahashi's Durus Yatsura is an influential comedy and sci-fi manga that has spawned two anime adaptations. A cult classic, the 1981 version is worth checking out, but it is not easy to find in this day and age. Thankfully, the story received another adaptation in 2022, one that is readily available on HiDive, featuring great animation and adhering closely to the manga. Durus Yatsura's latest incarnation demonstrates why this property has endured for so long, especially in Japan. While modernized in its presentation, the anime's humor and characters echo the source material's age, with both elements seeming like they were ripped right out of the 80s. The pervert protagonist might be dated, but Ataru holds up as one of this trope's better representatives, and his antics are consistently hilarious. Ataru's soon-to-be bride, steals the spotlight while covering a plethora of roles. She works well as a straight woman to Ataru's shenanigans, all the while adding a touch of heart to the story. However, she is also regularly funny, especially as a driving force for the anime's stellar slapstick. Durus Yatsura is comforting. Sure, the characters change very little and the skits are largely inconsequential, but they are also consistent. Viewers know what they are going to get when they tune in for an episode of this show. 8. Classroom of the Elite 3. My anime list, 8.02. Classroom of the Elite's third season offers more of the same, mind games, academic contests, and threats of expulsions. All in all, fans of the previous cours will likely enjoy watching the current saga, especially since the anime is finally starting to present Yanakuji with challenges that threaten to stretch beyond his control. Season 3 has also pushed Risasuka Yanagi and Hanamiya Kainos to the forefront more than ever before, and they are both fascinating characters who utilize very different methods to wield influence over their classmates. As enjoyable as Season 3 has been, Classroom of the Elite also has its issues. In an attempt to cover the remaining first year's arcs, the adaptation is moving at a blistering pace, to the point of rushing through storylines. Although this is par for the course for this anime, Season 3 feels especially on rails, with the characters and audience being granted very little room to breathe. While perhaps not consistently brilliant so far, Classroom of the Elite Season 3 produced one of the show's most satisfying chapters yet. Episode 8 represented the anime at its best, delivering suspense, twists, and even a splash of humor. Since then, Classroom of the Elite has been above average, and the season ended on a pretty good note that also served as a reminder that Yanakuji is far from a good person. 7. Ninjak Kumai. My anime list, 8.19. An extremely late addition to the winter 2024 season, Ninjak Kumai has mostly been a good time. Due to being licensed by Warner Bros. And Adult Swim, the original anime has fewer restrictions than series that have to air on standard television. Consequently, there will be blood. The central narrative is quite straightforward, almost to the point of being basic. Tracked down by his clan, a former ninja named Joe is left at death's door after watching his family be brutally murdered. However, he somehow survives. Naturally, his purpose in life is now to seek revenge, and he plans to take down everyone in his clan. As previously stated, there will be blood. Ninjak Kumai's story has been fairly cliché so far, and the anime has yet to deliver any real surprises. Now, this could change in the future depending on how the show blends its sci-fi touches, but it has only amounted to some cool mecha-like armor up to this point. That said, Ninjak Kumai is quite entertaining. Except for one other series, the show has produced the season's most continuously great fight sequences, with each episode including at least a couple of memorable battles. Provided the second half of the season lives up to expectations, this show will probably go down as one of the best 2024 winter anime. 6. Mashall, Magic and Muscles, The Divine Visionary Candidate Exam Arc. My anime list, 8.07. Mashall, Magic and Muscles had a decent opening season, but it fell short of excellence. Blending Harry Potter and battle shonen tropes, the story is set in a world where nearly everyone can use magic. However, Mash Burned is an exception. Fortunately, he makes up for his magical ineptitude by being ripped as hell, allowing him to perform incredible feats. To protect himself and his adoptive father, Mash joins a prominent magic academy with the hopes of becoming a divine visionary. Although fun, Season 1 lost steam as it went along, and its only memorable character was Mash. Consequently, Season 2 needed to flesh out the world while also improving the supporting characters and introducing intriguing villains. Incredibly, the anime has managed to do all three. The Divine Visionary Candidate Exam Arc has been a blast. Mash still steals nearly every scene with his nonsensical physical showcases, but he no longer has to carry the show on his back. Season 2 has done a good job of displaying an authentic connection between Mash's friends, something that was not really present during its predecessor. More importantly, the winter 2024 core features multiple antagonists who are all fascinating, entertaining, and unique. 5. Delicious in Dungeon. My anime list, 7.96. Winter 2024 is overflowing with fantasy shows. As much criticism as Isekai gets for being overexposed, the same can be said about traditional fantasy stories, which have become inescapable over the last few seasons. Ignoring Isekai, Winter 2024 has roughly 8 series that fit the fantasy genre, most of which are set in medieval-style worlds. Fun as many of these anime are, they can start to fuse together, creating a blob of knights, mages, and elves. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End's existence does not help matters either, since it is considerably better than its contemporaries. Despite arguably having the most basic premise of any currently airing fantasy anime, Delicious in Dungeon is also one of the most unique. The story follows a group of adventurers as they travel through a D&D-style dungeon to find and revive a fallen companion before she is fully digested by the dragon that ate her. To avoid wasting time, they decide to turn the dungeon's ecosystem into a buffet, which means eating the monsters they face. Not every party member loves this idea, but they embrace it. Delicious in Dungeon starts as a delightful comedy that pokes fun at fantasy tropes. The main characters are all charming and well-defined, with each of them having specific roles that justify their membership in the party. While the first half of the season plays out like a light-hearted adventure comedy, this section is merely the calm before the storm, and the anime has now transitioned into a full-blown dark fantasy epic. Delicious in Dungeon executed this shift during episodes 11 and 12, which were both nothing short of brilliant. The series is set to continue throughout the spring 2024 season, and its future is extremely bright. 4. A Sign of Affection. My Anime List, 8.31. Winter 2024 loves a good romance, with nearly all the genre's efforts being at least decent. A Sign of Affection is a fantastic all-around effort that is an easy recommendation for any pure romance fans who want a more mature story. Just to be clear, this series is a romance and not a rom-com. More importantly, the characters are college age, and they act appropriately. Unlike most of the genre's offerings in manga and anime, A Sign of Affection does not waste too much time in bringing its main couple together. Yuki and Itsuomi are the show's beating heart, and they share a cute rapport that has been steadily building throughout the season. As she has been hearing impaired since birth, Yuki's world is quite small, comparatively. Itsuomi has traveled the world, and he can even speak 3 languages. They have instant chemistry, and it does not take long for both of them to make their interest in each other clear. Even though Itsuomi is opening Yuki's world, the latter is also introducing the former to something they have never experienced. A Sign of Affection has gotten a touch repetitive at times, particularly since Yuki and Itsuomi started officially dating. That's not to say the episodes have been bad, just that they have generally followed the same structure. The supporting characters are also a bit of a mixed bag, particularly a jealous childhood friend who comes across as possessive most of the time. 3. Solo Leveling. My Anime List, 8.37. Without question, Solo Leveling was the most highly anticipated winter 2024 anime based on arguably the most popular manhwa of all time. The adaptation needs to knock almost everything out of the park if it wants to meet expectations, and A1 Pictures has mostly hit the ground running. That said, Solo Leveling's first episode mostly focused on setting up the world through some fairly heavy-handed exposition, resulting in an enjoyable but weirdly paced opener. Still, even if it mostly acted as a tease of things to come, the content was generally good. Fortunately, the subsequent episodes more than deliver on their predecessors' hype, and they do a great job of highlighting this story's appeal: vicious, intense action and a likable lead with a high power ceiling. After gates to fantastical worlds started to pop up around the world, people began to develop special abilities, leading to the rise of the hunter profession. Split into ranks determined by their powers, hunters have no forward momentum. Consequently, an E-rank member like Sung Jin-woo is destined to remain weak. While on a mission in a D-level gate, a group of hunters decide to venture down a secret passage in search of riches. This proves to be a mistake, and Sung Jin-woo finds himself on death's door. However, he has chosen to become a player, allowing him to improve his stats as a reward for completing daily challenges. Solo Leveling is a power fantasy that makes its protagonist work for their power, even if he grows at an exceptionally fast rate. Sung Jin-woo is always pushing himself to take on threats that seem to be above his current level, which ensures most fights are not one-sided slaughters. The hunter culture is also quite fascinating, and some of Jin-woo's most interesting enemies are humans and not monsters. 2. The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. My Anime List, 8.80. The Dangers in My Heart was one of 2023's best romance anime, and Season 2 could very well be better than its predecessor. Anna and Kitaro's relationship has completely transitioned from awkward banter to heartwarming camaraderie built on support and mutual respect. While they are not exactly a couple yet, the story does not downplay their fondness for each other, and they are both trying to come to terms with the overwhelming feelings they are experiencing. Even without the romance angle, Anna and Kitaro's friendship is refreshingly grounded, despite being romanticized to an extent. With beautiful animation, earnest characters, and charming humor, The Dangers in My Heart is an all-around masterclass in character development. Romance is not everyone's cup of tea, but this series is comfortably among the top Winter 2024 anime and a must-watch for anyone remotely interested in the genre. 1. Kingdom Season 5. My anime list, 8.82. Most anime barely make it past a single season, so a show must be something special to reach 5. Despite achieving this rare feat, Kingdom is still a relatively unknown property, at least compared to other long-running series like My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, or even Vinland Saga. Those anime are among the industry's most well-known names of all time, and Kingdom is a match for them in nearly every area. Unfortunately, the anime had notoriously bad animation in its opening 2 seasons, which resulted in a negative reputation that proved difficult to shake. However, that issue was predominantly fixed by the 3rd season, removing the adaptation's main distraction and allowing the fantastic writing to shine through. Kingdom Season 5 represents this immaculate and ambitious series at its best, delivering a gripping war epic filled with fascinating characters, intriguing tactics, and nuanced moral complexity. Revolving around the Kokuyu Hill battle, the arc finds the Ken and Sho armies vying to dominate a large hill within a forest-themed zone. Assigned to support Konki's massive army, Shin and his unit not only have to deal with overwhelming Ken numbers but also a commander who is anything but honorable. The latter element has elevated an already strong season, adding an ethical component that clearly shows there are monsters on both sides of the equation. Kingdom has always excelled at telling these types of stories, and this arc showcases this talent brilliantly.
Hello. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future content, comment and let me know. I know many are not comfortable with AI art, but I am saving to gather supplies to delve into other art styles. It will take time, but I am hoping to get into resin, woodworking, and metalworking. All I ask, please enjoy my videos.